Inspired to write this film after scouting the iconic Four Aces movie ranch, and each of these locations in this film feels like a character in itself, and that's often how your script writing begins. What are the key components that you're looking for when you're scouting for locations, and what was it about the Four Aces that spoke to you?
I think I'm just a sucker for anything like old. I'm so glad you did your research, so I don't have to repeat my everything. But yeah, I kind of went there, and it's everything I've done always has a period aspect of it to it, and I kind of fell in love with the space, and I thought there was enough there to just sort of craft a script out of. With the motel and the diner and the gas station, I was just like, kind of just fell in love with the desolate environment of it, and I walked in and I was like, okay, cool. I think I can spend 20 days in this room. um, and yeah, and it's my DP always hates me for it because it's like I always have to have old cars in everything we do, and they're always breaking down. And so there are plenty of shots. I mean, we were doing this on our short films where the cars would stop running, and then we'd have to push them. And we had to do the same thing on Last Stop. And I was like, we're back to square one, baby. So like there's a lot of stuff where Jim's driving, and it's like we are pushing the car, and then we're ducking, and we're going around, and we're pushing it from the back. And yeah, picture cars, man, never work. Yeah.
There are also so many fantastic movies and television shows that have been filmed here, but you do such a fantastic job making these locations feel familiar but also new. How are you able to strike that balance so seamlessly?
Um, yeah, we watched pretty much everything we could that was shot at Four Aces.
Mm.
Like, I mean, my DP and I just were like, watched everything. We talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, and finding that balance, and then having really long discussions with my production designer, Charlie Texter. And luckily, we had like 2 weeks of prep there where we could do scenic work and start dressing it and really making it like just giving it small touches that felt like it was Charlotte's home, and it felt like really lived in. And I because when you walk in it definitely feels like a set, and so it was just finding those like little touches that made it feel homey, and real. And even though some of those things like aren't prominently on screen, like they're there, and you almost you feel it more.
You wrote this
um,
feature with these particular actors in mind, and you're lucky enough to get them all on board. What was the secret
yeah.
behind getting everybody to sign on, and was there a plan B in place if an actor was unavailable?
um Yeah, the letters. I wrote them all letters. I think that actually worked. And then from there it was just like I knew if I was able to just get them on a Zoom and talk to me, I could convince
Mm.
them. And it's funny because most of the time, like when we did jump on a Zoom, this whole cast is like that they were all just movie lovers, big cinephiles. So like I remember talking to Alex Essoe. I think she was in Ireland shooting The Pope's Exorcist, and like we talked for over 2 hours, and then she texted me after, and she was like, "Oh my God, I realized we didn't even talk about the movie." And I'm like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like I already like I'm a huge fan. Like of course, you know what I mean? Like she didn't have to convince me. Like it was just we mainly just talked about movies and
Mm.
cinema and filmmakers that we love and influences. And um so yeah, I think it was the letters and then the Zooms, and just like having that one-on-one interaction really helped a lot. And then in terms of like a plan B, uh I don't know. I never got to that point. So I never really like panicked. I mean, there was certainly like there was a point in the process of making this movie where we were with a different company, and we were going out to like bigger names, and weren't having luck there. But that was never like the movie I wanted to make regard. So like it was like I was kind of getting forced to go after these names with like quote unquote value in the foreign market, and I was just like,
Mm.
fuck. It was heartbreaking because like for me, I always wanted Jim. Like I always knew Jim was the person to pull this character off. So once we were able to secure financing and do it independently, that's when I was really able to approach all the actors that like I always saw fit for the film.
Yeah, Jim is fantastic in
Yeah.
this. I know
Yeah.
before heading into this film, like you were just saying, you had one-on-ones with each of your actors. How did that collaboration and process allow you to build trust with your cast and enable them to take agency over their characters?
Um, just once we actually casted, I just, I gave them a lot of freedom. Like we would jump on Zooms, one-on-ones, and we would just comb through the script um and we did a bunch of rehearsals and we just anything that felt contrived or forced, I would rewrite on the spot. And so we just built trust that way. And like, so there was never a moment on set where they were like, I don't think I would say that, or I don't think I would sit here. Like all that stuff was previously talked about. So it was really just going in there with a real clear understanding of who this character was and like what the motivations were. And like, because we talked about it so much and not just dialogue, but just like, these like micro expressions that they were able to bring to the film. So
Something else that you've done so brilliantly with this film is you're able to play with all these different tones so effortlessly. Why do you think the dark comedy genre plays well with the themes that you wanted to tackle and these larger than life characters?
oh, hmm. I mean, it was always kind of there on the page, the dark comedy aspect of it, but it wasn't really. It was really like when we brought in characters like Nicholas Logan and Connor playing Gavin, where like I was like, okay, let's really swing for the fences here. You know what I mean? And like do these larger than life absurd characters. And like it was about balancing you know, these absurd characters and then these like characters like Jocelyn's, like Charlotte. Like every time I felt like we were going too big, and I'm like, oh fuck, like is this becoming too ridiculous? We would flip the world and shoot Jocelyn's coverage, and it was like, oh no, never mind, we're
Mm.
safe because we have a character like Jocelyn, like Charlotte, who just kind of grounds the world. And I think like um, I try to just constantly play with that balance between you know absurd and serious, like and just like suspenseful. There's a lot of moments that like where we immediately go from like this is fucking absurd and silly to like oh shit, this is really dark. And I kind of tried to do take that same approach with the actual characters. It's a 15 cast ensemble in a single room, and it was about finding which characters need a ground thing and which characters need to kind of breathe life into it.
Great answer. I know time is such a
Yeah.
luxury when you're working on a film and you shot a lot of this project in a single take, which is an incredible feat. Is there a scene in particular that you can't believe you were able to pull off?
um I mean the finale, you know what I'm talking about without any spoilers. I was like, when I remember just like shooting that on the day and just being like, this is fucking crazy. But in terms of like just like a technical achievement, like the scene where Rich is sitting across from Jim and Jocelyn, kind of like explaining that. I think Variety posted that clip a few days ago. I'm actually like really like proud of that shot just because my DP and I had talked about it for so long, and we were like both like, this is going to be really tough to get through, and I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off. And it was like, and if we can't, we'll have to get coverage. But every time, I forgot how many takes we did of that, like 14 or 15 takes, and we just kept getting closer, and we're like, oh shit, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be able to get the shot and not get coverage. So that, and then like the long oneer with Jim when he exits the diner, that was really nerve wracking because we are outside and the streets are busy and there's cars
Mm.
coming. So we'd be like in the middle of a take and be like, it's going perfect. And then a modern car zooms by and we're like, no. So, it was very rewarding when we finally got a long oneer. It was like, it felt like, you know, a celebratory moment on set.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. And this is also
Yeah.
your full-length directorial debut. What was the most surprising part about this process, and what was the biggest takeaway that you'll bring to your next project?
The biggest takeaway I'd say, like, just like, you know, um, work with people that you really trust and work with people that actually believe in the project you're making, you know, and are there for the right reasons and aren't there for a paycheck. And like, I mean, I brought a lot of people on this project that were doing my short films that had no experience whatsoever. And sometimes like just having the passion behind it is more important than like the experience. And just staying
Mm,
true to that, you know, staying true to like casting people that you actually see fit, you know, and not just because they're a name or whatever, but like actually casting because you know they can play this character better than anyone. I think the most surprising part was like, uh, I just had so much fucking fun. You know, I really thought like, oh, making my first feature is going to be like, I remember making our short films and like on day 3 being like how the fuck are we going to get through today? Like this is crazy. And then thinking about like a feature, you're just like, oh my god, like how do you maintain the momentum of like a 20-day shoot? But it
mm,
never felt that way. It was just like, I think after day 3, like you just kind of like break through this sort of barrier and you're just like you're in go mode. So I was really like anticipating just being completely burnt out and being like, how the fuck are we going to finish this movie? And sure, like there was things that came up that were like felt like oh my god, we're never going to be able to finish, you know, because we only have a few days left or whatever. But um yeah, I just wasn't expecting to have so much fun making it.